there being two color schemes. We have, which one's the laser pointer?
The top net. Or sorry, top.
We have this subtractive color system. And this occurs when you mix paints. However, I'm going to be focusing on the additive color system, which is what you get when you mix light. So most of you know that blue, red, and green are the primary colors of light. But this is a bit of a complication to make it easier to understand. In truth, the easiest, or the most functional way to think about color is on a diagram like this. This is the Commission Internationale de l'Éclairage color space. In it, you have independent wavelengths that go all the way around the outside. And any color within the shape is able to be created by taking a single wavelength and another single wavelength, joining them by a straight line, and any color on that line can be created by those 2 points. So in truth, you can make color with only you can make white with only 2 wavelengths of light. This comes from the fact that our eyes have 3 color sensing cells, which are mimicked to create this diagram. What happens though, if you only use the 2 wavelengths of light to make white, is that you end up with a picture that doesn't have all the colors well represented. So on one hand, we have this picture of my cat Fawn in fluorescent light. But then when you add the reds that are generally underrepresented in commercial light bulbs, the yellows and the really come out. So this is an example of metameric failure, where metamerism is the ability for 2 different sources of light to make an object appear the same. The key figure of merit for metamerism is the color rendering index, which is a unitless scale from 0 to 100. Basically, it says how much this is going to look like any really good quality light is illuminating it. Not only does bad quality light make things look worse or make things look different, but being exposed to too much low quality light can actually have several health consequences. In this paper, they said that not only does it cause sleep problems, depression, jet lag, but it can cause sleep disturbances in people with Parkinson's. So this is a very, very good reason to ditch fluorescent light bulbs. The other, like I said though, it makes things look worse. The best time of day to be taking pictures is either right before or right after sunrise and sunset, known as the golden hour, which helps us. You see the difference when midday sun at the top and golden hour sun at the bottom. Really, this is just there to help us pick out the most important currency known to mankind: Instagram likes. The other color figure of merit that's talked about when you're buying lights is the color temperature. And this is important in a very similar way. But what color temperature is color temperature is what color we're looking at. An example, color temperature is what color of black body an object most mimics. So a black body is anything that radiates just because it has some intrinsic heat to it. As you can see here with these embers that are glowing. As you get hotter and hotter, it can start to be blue, and it can go white and then all the way past to blue. And so this will follow this black line here. And these are the colors that our eyes are most adapted to, because this is how we evolved. We evolved in the wilderness, and the sun is basically a perfect black body. What happens, though, is the sun's light changes from morning, noon to night. And go right back down to 2000 at night. Our bodies become used to this, and we've actually picked up on it so much that when it's disrupted, it can disrupt the natural cycle of our life. This is called the circadian rhythm. In the morning, we create cortisol. At night, we release, I think it's melatonin, and this causes us to go to sleep. But what we found is that using our phones too much, which are incredibly blue, high temperature light sources, things watching too many screens, or even just being in fluorescent lights at night can cause different cancers, issues with metabolism. Our circadian rhythm is very, very much intertwined with our overall health. So one of the best things that you can do would be to install a program like Flux, which filters out the blue light later on into the night. Basically do this on any compatible devices, because it'll help you get to sleep faster. And yeah, as you can see, instead of having the very strong blue that would normally be emitted by your phone, it shifts it a lot more to the red, and that can be incredibly helpful. So now, the most common factor that you're probably going to be looking at when you're buying a light is the efficiency. What the efficiency is a measure of how much light energy is produced, scaled to the sensitivity of our eye, which follows this curve here being most sensitive at 555. Here are a list of various different light sources, with that single monochromatic 555 nanometer light having a theoretical maximum of 683 lumens per watt. Now, a lot of you may be familiar with incandescent light bulbs, which are up at the top of the table, only having about 15 lumens per watt. So that's, 40 times less efficient. Unfortunately, though, we're never going to be able to reach that number because no one wants to see the world all green, right? So the ideal light source would be about a 5,500 Kelvin truncated black body, meaning that anything outside of the visible region isn't seen. And this is going to be the theoretical maximum of 251 lumens per watt. Now, comparing against some more realistic things that you might be purchasing on an everyday basis. Like I said, the incandescent light bulb, not particularly good. Instead of filling it with halogens as opposed to just vacuum, slightly increases the efficiency. But as you can see, this pink bar is still quite large, and that's the wasted energy. Wasted energy can come, in this case, largely from heat losses, but also it can come from just not using the spectrum perfectly well, or other just electronic losses. As we start moving up to fluorescence, you see we're getting to about 50-50. 50% of the energy used is lost. And some of the higher level light bulbs that we have today use most of their energy to produce light, like these LEDs here. The way that we make LEDs, there's two real ways. You can take several monochromatic LEDs, put them so close together we can't see the difference. But this comes with a bit of a manufacturing cost, as well as just needing a lot of really tiny circuits. So what cutting edge companies nowadays are doing is they're taking a blue LED, using that as a base, and putting materials on top of it that will absorb and re-emit in yellow and red. So the higher the color quality, to create a higher color quality, you basically just need to use more wavelengths. So to do this, they start adding more and more layers, but this all comes with an efficiency cost, which means the efficiency decreases as we do get to that higher color quality. So these are the spectra of halogen lights. Here, as you can see, fluorescent light bulbs are very spiky. They have individual peaks associated with atomic emission of the materials within the light, and they get up to about 82 lumens per watt, still very, very far away from the 251 that we said was the ideal light source. But with modern LEDs, using this gallium nitride base here, and with several phosphors on top. We found that we were able to increase the color rendering past that, as well as increase the efficiency to basically double that of the fluorescent light bulbs to about 150. But even these innovations have fallen a bit of they've been falling off because we're no longer working with newer materials. Unfortunately, a lot of the gains here are going to be due to electronics underneath the lights. But in 2018, Philips revealed a prototype that ended up being the first lamp to ever break that 200 lumens per watt barrier. So right there, we're at 80% of the theoretical maximum. So I'm really excited to see how this goes in the future. Now, color blindness. This affects, I believe, 8% of men, and it's the insensitivity of one or more than one of the color sensing cells in our eyes. What this does is red-green confusion is the most common form of color blindness, and someone who can see a green hat, red sneakers, will see the world as shown on the bottom. Light, another really growing issue in our digital world is the exposure to light at night. I have a few different sorts of light that we can be seeing listed on the side. Unfortunately, it's not particularly legible, but they found that anything above 5 on the scale, 5 lux, can cause huge health effects by obstructing your circadian rhythm. So this is, if you roll out of bed in the middle of the night, maybe your cat woke you up, you take a look at your phone, you don't go back to bed. We've never been used to that. That's never something that we evolved to be able to do. And this has, again, many negative health implications because of it. At the bottom, you can see pictures of the world at night. Even just walking outside, we're exposed to a huge amount of light that we never would have been before. And so it's no surprise that instances of insomnia are at a record level. Now I'm going to get into my research. What I've been working with in the past is using different nanomaterials in an attempt to make white light. Our idea was to use these nanomaterials as a composite, and we have energy transferring from our blue to our red, as opposed to traditional radiative forms of transfer of electrons, photons, and whatnot. And this would allow us to create phosphors that would fluoresce white just by themselves, reducing the difficulty to manufacture them. Unfortunately, we found that a lot of the materials that we're using, they just didn't end up being as efficient where we wanted them to be as we needed them to be. However, that's not to say that they're not very useful, especially the quantum dots, the red emitters that we were using. These are materials so small that the very electrons inside of them are squished, so they increase the energy with which they require to do anything with them. These here are cadmium selenide quantum dots that they're all the same material. The only difference is this one here is on the scale of probably 4.2 nanometers, and this one here is about 2.6, I believe, if I'm seeing the color properly. The reason that these materials are so good, they're quite efficient, but they also have a very narrow emission. Before I said that that was bad, but if you're trying to make a TV with the most faithful color, then you want to have the largest range of colors visible possible. And this has been especially an issue with green light. As you can see, the traditional TVs have very wide LEDs, but with these narrower LEDs, it brings us closer to the spectral locus that runs along the edge of the CIE diagram, meaning that we're able to create a lot more area that we're able to see, have more nuanced screens, and everything looks better. This comes from a university project in MIT, and it was bought out by Samsung for over $100 million, I believe. And now, anytime you see QLED TVs by Samsung, it's this technology right here. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean, unfortunately, lossy compression still makes Game of Thrones fight scenes look a little bit, leave something to be desired. Anyways, I'll just give you the take-homes and we'll call it a day. So the first thing that you should be doing is looking for an LED with above 100 lumens per watt. They're basically everywhere. When the last time I went shopping for lights, you could easily find the 130 lumens per watt LEDs with a color rendering index over 90. They start to talk about the health impacts happening when you are exposed to light under a color rendering index of 80, but given the level of technology nowadays, you can get 90 and it'll be no problem. The next thing, you should use high color temperature lights for your offices, something like 5,000, 5,500. Reason being, it wakes you up in the middle of the day, it emulates the midday sun. The opposite should be true though, if you have trouble falling asleep like I do. You should use 2,800, maybe even 2,000 if you can get your hands on those Kelvin lights. In your bedroom, you should exclusively use very low temperature lights for night lights, even pure red if you have the option. Additionally, install a screen filtering app like Flux. I'm not associated with them in any way, they're just the most common one on the market. And to prevent any light that you're exposed to in the middle of the night, install blackout blinds and have sleep with your door closed if that's an option. If your cat won't scratch her way in. And finally, wait to watch Game of Thrones until you can get it on a 4K ultra high definition TV with a zero loss compression. Thank you. All right, questions? Yes.
So I was curious about something you said earlier about the blue light being especially bad for nighttime. And I was curious if someone who has color blindness actually has an advantage in those situations over people who don't.
That's interesting. I believe because red-green confusion is the most common form of color blindness, that implies that the blue one isn't as common. So people with the most common form probably are unaffected. There is that possibility though. I'm not 100%. This is an interesting thing to put together.
I have a slight blue-green colorblind sensitivity, so I was wondering if maybe I had a superpower that I didn't have.
How do you sleep?
I sleep great.
You have the superpower.
There you go, yeah.